Hello guys, welcome to my topic. So today I'm going to speak about the features of Python programming. So my name is Gautam Reddy from CAC A section from Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. So let's get into our topic. There is a quote saying here, if you if you decide to design your own language, there are thousands of sort of amateur languages. Design pitfalls. This was said by Guido von Rossum, who is the founder of Python. So let's get into contents. Here you will be learning about what is the Python, the history of Python, why Python is most popular language, and coming to the last features of Python and references given. So at last to the conclusion. So without any further delay, let's get into our first main topic. So now let's get to the first topic, that is what is Python. So the Python is an interpreted, object-oriented and high-level programming language with dynamic semantics. Its high-level built-in data structures combined with dynamic typing and dynamic binding make it very attractive for rapid application development as well as for use as a scripting or glue language to connect existing components together. So the second point is Python simple, Python is simple, easy to learn, and its syntax emphasizes readability and therefore reduces the cost of program maintenance. The Python supports modules and packages which encourages program modularity and code reuse. The Python interpreter and extensive standard library are available in source file binary from without charge for all major platforms and can be freely distributed. Debugging Python programs is very easy. A bug or bad input will never cause a segmentation fault. Hope you got this. So come to next point. The debugger is written in Python itself and testifying to Python's introspective power. On the other hand, often the quickest way to debug a program is to add a new print statements to the source. The fast edit test debug cycle makes this simple approach very effective. So increased productivity it provides. So basically it provides increased productivity of code. Since there is no compilation step, the edit test debug cycle is incredibly fast. Which is so the use of Python is it's using web development, which is server side, software development, mathematics, system scripting, artificial intelligence, and many more. So let's get into our next topic. So coming to the next topic of this session, it's history of Python programming. So the Python was conceived in late 1980s by Guido van Rossum at Centrum Wiskunde and Informatica (CWI) in the Netherlands as a successor to the ABC programming language, which was inspired by SATA, capable of execution and interfacing with the Amoeba operating system. So its implementation began in December 1989. The von Rossum shouldered sole responsibility for as a project manager for the project as lead developer until 12th July 2018. When he announced after 12th July 2018, he announced his permanent vacation from his responsibilities as Python's benevolent dictator for life. A title of Python community bestowed upon him to reflect his long-term commitment as project's chief decision maker. The Python 2.0 was released on 16 October 2000, which many major new features has come. Python 3.0 released on 3rd December 2008, with many of its major features backported to Python's 2.6x and Python 2.7x. When Python releases 3, it include the 2 to 3 utility, which automates the translation of Python 2 code to Python 3. The Python's 2.7's end of life was initially set for 2015, then postponed to 2020 out of concern that was a large body of existing code could not easily be forward ported to Python 3. So let's go to next slide. As you can see in this picture, which is a brief history of development of Python programming language. In 1980, Python programming has laid its foundation. Coming to 1992, first versions of Python programming language was released at CWI in Netherlands. In 1994, Python 1.0 version was released with new features such as lambda, map, etc. In 2000, Python 2.0 version got released with several improvements. In 2008, Python 3.0 version was introduced to help programmers to develop projects easily. So now let's get into the next topic of this session. Thank you. So coming to the next topic of this session, which is why Python is popular. Python is easy to learn. As we all know, Python is different, more so than nearly any other programming language. Python reads and writes very similar to English. It uses a simplified syntax with an emphasis on natural language for a much easier learning curve for beginners, and because Python is free to use and is supported by an extremely large ecosystem of libraries and packages, it's often the first choice language for new developers. So second point is Python has an active supporting community. Python has been around for over decades and more than enough time for a dedicated user community to grow up around it. The Python community includes developers of all skills and provides easy access to documentation, guides, and tutorials and more. At the same time, the Python community is extremely active when developers are up against the deadlines and in desperate need of help. They can work with any community to crowdsource fast and effective solutions. So coming to the third point, which is Python is flexible. Python is often described as a general purpose programming language. This means that unlike domain specific languages, they are designed only for certain application types. Python may be used to develop nearly any kind of application in any industry or field. Python has been used to great effect in web development, data analytics, data science, machine learning, data engineering, and artificial intelligence, and many more. Many top businesses and software companies often depend on Python, including Facebook, Google, Netflix, Instagram, and many others. So, coming to fourth point, that is Python is efficient, fast, and reliable. Compared to some other languages such as Java, C hash, Go, JavaScript, or C++. Though Python often has a slightly slower execution speed. However, in today's world, Python development time is much important than computer runtime. And in terms of time to time market, Python simply cannot be beaten. And likewise, Python is efficient, reliable, allowing developers to create powerful applications with a minimum of effort. Completing coding projects is easy rather than time consuming, and the results are able to stand toe to toe with applications created using more demanding languages. So, coming to the next point, that Python empowers custom automation. Programming complex technologies generally require writing a significant amount of code, but unfortunately, even small, simple tasks can end up co-opting large amounts of available developer time. The Python incorporates tools and modules to help automate these repetitive time-consuming tasks so that developers can focus their energies on other important issues. So the Python incorporates tools and modules to help automate these repetitive time-consuming tasks so that developers can now focus their energies on other important issues. So the Python is the academic language. Python has now become the go-to computing language in many schools, colleges, and other places of learning and academical. Simply put, those who pursue a formal education in computer science are extremely likely to be introduced to Python during the course of their learning and are even more likely to continue with Python throughout their career. So now let's get into the next topic. So coming to the main features of Python language, it is easy and readable language. So Python is extremely easy to learn. Its syntax is super simple and the learning curve of Python is very smooth. It is extremely easy to learn and code in Python, and the indentation used instead of curly braces in Python makes it very easy to read Python code. The second one is its interpreted language. Python is an interpreted language. An interpreted language is a programming language that is generally interpreted without compiling a program into machine instructions. It is the one where the instructions are not directly executed by the target machine but instead read and executed by some other program known as the interpreter, or an ideally, which is also known as interactive development environment, is packaged along with a Python. So coming to next one, that is it is dynamically typed language. Python is a dynamically typed language. In other words, in Python, we don't need to declare the data types of the variables that we define. It is the job of the Python interpreter to determine the data types of the variables at runtime based on the types of parts of the expression. So fourth one, next point, it's open source and free. Python is an open source programming language, and one can download it for free from Python's official website, which is in Google. So the community of Python users is constantly contributing to the code of Python in order to improve it. The fifth one is large standard library. One of the very famous important features are its large standard library, because of which Python is so famous in today's times due to the huge standard library it offers to its users. The standard library of Python is very extremely large, with a diverse set of packages and modules like iterative which are iterative tools, func tools, which are known as functional tools, the operators, and many more, with common and important functionalities in them. If the code of some functionality is already present in these modules, the packages, the developers do not need to rewrite them from scratch. So coming to the next slide, that is, so coming to the next point, it's high level language. A high level language, which is also known as HLL, is a programming language that enables a programmer to write programs that are more or less independent of a particular type of computer. These languages are said to be high level since they are very close to human languages and far away from machine languages. So unlike C, Python is a high level language. So coming to the next point, that is, it's extensible and embeddable. So Python is an embeddable language where we can write some Python code in C or C++ language, and also we can compile the code in C or C++ language. Python is also extensible. It means that we can extend our Python code in various other languages like C++, etc. too. So next, coming to last point, that is its graphical user interface GUI support. Yet another interesting feature of Python is the fact that we can use it to create GUI, graphical user interfaces. We can use Tkinter, PyQt, WXPython, or PySide for doing the same. And last point is Python also features a large number of GUI frameworks which are available for it, and variable. So coming to the references, so here are some links where you can refer whatever you want, like whether you can refer how to learn Python or to know in detail about this session. You can just refer these links I have kept over here. Thank you. So coming to the conclusion, so in conclusion, Python is extremely easy to understand, and therefore millions of people all around the world are beginning to pick up as a Python for a number of fields. Many big companies have separate interview rounds to check a candidate's Python programming skills, whether he is capable enough or not. Python is definitely the programming language of the future, and its tremendous popularity and usage in today's world hint at the fact that it is easy to stay for a long period of time. Hence, if one knows how to code in Python, one will definitely benefit a lot from it. So, thank you for joining this session. You have a great time and achieve something. Happy learning.